Hello guys, I'm back. I'm sorry for the interruption. That you listen over there was my roomie. Mm. It's really sunny this afternoon, so she was just trying to move. Well, hopefully that didn't disrupt you very much. I was saying about a word and how sometimes it's easier or difficult to guess the meaning of a word depending on the amount of known words that unknown word uh, has surrounded, right? Or it's how many of those unknown vocabulary is present compared to the vocabulary that is known. Okay, so I repeat one more time. The example that I gave was the Commodore commanded his men the concoction, right? Now, I was trying to illustrate this point. Yes, the let's say difficulty to try to guess that particular word concoction, because the ones that are surrounding him are probably not very well known. Yes, so I don't know if some of you knows what is a commodore. Yes, probably commander is fine for many of you, like order, right? But then these words that we have around don't really provide a clue, right? Now, what about if I change this let's say environment of the word concoction for one that is a little bit more friendly, right? What if I say the man ordered the concoction to his friends because they all wanted to drink it? Okay, well, now you have the word man and friends, and most importantly, you have the word drink, right? Uh, so, if you're clever enough, you can predict somehow that the word concoction means something to drink, right? It must be liquid. That if you're drinking with your friends, so mostly that is a refreshment, probably, or it could be some liquor, right? Like some alcoholic beverage or something similar. Um, well, that is the word, right? Concoction is a mixture of some sort of. It might be liquids, it may be solids, but normally it's like something to drink or eat. So a soup can be a concoction. So a sancocho can be a concoction, and many other things. So my point into providing this example is that for foreign learners, it is a little bit more difficult to try to guess the words from context because of the lack of vocabulary. Okay, so all this takes us to the internalization point. With literature, with books, with poems, with let's say tales or novels or any other model of narrative, uh, you're able to have like some sort of shortcut to direct exposure. Normally, in traditional life, you will have to be exposed to a lot of people, a lot of environments, a lot of fields in which vocabulary is different, right? And in this way, it may take years for you to develop a large body of vocabulary. So reading a book, reading literature is going to help you with this. Yes, of course, it's not going to be something instantaneous, something that happens right away. Uh, but um, but it may certainly help you to be in contact with a body of vocabulary in which you are not normally uh, aware of, that doesn't normally surround you, and that is going to be like difficult to be connected to in any other way, right? So also you can see different structures, different academic components, and they can be approached in useful ways. Let's call them somehow natural, right? Mm, Many of the difficulties that we have with grammar is that sometimes we are using it out of context, right? Like if we use second conditional or first conditional or future or present continuous, any of those uh, by the traditional way that we learn, the one the way I did when I was in school, was basically a formula and a structure, a lot of examples and repetition, right? But real context was not present in there, right? Nowadays, hopefully, we are much better at that. Yes, we provide context in a more, let's say, good way. But nevertheless, literature is really good for that. Yes, because it can sort of expose the reader to all those vocabulary, grammar, etc. Right? And normally it is useful because you're required to use that, or you're required to understand that in order to understand the book, right? To continue advancing in the story, to continue advancing in the understanding of the literary piece that you have in front of you. Again, if this is permeated by some other needs, not only the academic one or not only the understanding one, well, it's going to be even more, let's say, useful or important. Okay, so let's take a look right now. If we go to the slide number 4, how we can find a ton, like many different acceptions of a word. And what is acception? Well, very simple. It's meaning. Like you see, if you didn't know that particular meaning, so by means of studying literature, now at least you got one more word, right? Acception. Acception means the meaning of a word. So let's take a look at the first, right? The one that the number 4. So this is a fragment of Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe. This is the story of a guy who was a sailor, and because of a shipwreck, like an accident, in the sea, he was stranded on an island, and he went to live over there into that deserted island. Well, just a curious fact. That is why this crappy TV show, reality show that existed some years ago, it was called the Robinson Expedition, was it? Well, and people who participated in that were supposed to do all sorts of tests in order to survive into an island, no? So the origin of that name, Robinson, it's from here. So let's take a look at this fragment. It says, May 6, work on the wreck, got several iron bolts out of her and other pieces of ironwork. Worked very hard and came home very much tired and had thoughts of giving it over. Okay? Really small one, a lot of vocabulary that maybe not so well known for you. And let's concentrate on the word bolt. Yes? What does it mean? Of course, if you take a look at the picture, well, you will know what is that. Right? You will know what is a bolt. What does it mean? Yes, those bolts are those pieces of metal that are normally put together with the purpose of fastening one piece of metal, usually, to another. Right? Like put them together. Now, take a look at some other aspects over here. It says work on the wreck. So what sort of wreck is he talking about? We don't know because we don't really know the story so far. But I told you that he was on a shipwreck, right? So probably he was over there working into the reminders of the accident. Imagine a boat that is half sunk. Probably there's one part in the water, underwater, the other part is floating or something like that. So he went over there. He got several of these bolts, that in this case it may be tuercas or tornillos, out of her. Who is her? Like a person? Yeah, because normally we use that for persons. Well, remember that many sailors and people who travel by sea used to name their boats with the name of women, of girls, right? So this her is a familiar way to refer to the boat, right? And other pieces of ironwork. So this confirms our theory. He went over there, maybe swimming, took out all these metal pieces or materials, worked very hard. shouldn't be easy, like to work on metal with the right materials and tools. Imagine if you're very let's say scarce of any sort of instrument in order to do this properly, and came home very much tired and had thoughts of giving it over. So this guy was so tired of it, was so exhausted by this hard work that he decided to give up. And give up meant probably in a deserted island to die, right? So take a look at it. Like, we were trying to find the meaning of the word bolt. In this case, bolts, that is a noun, right? That is in plural. And, well, that is like one clue. And then we have all the other contexts. Let's take a look to another acception of the word. Yes? We have another one that is bolt over here. This is by a poem by Bizarre City, and the book is called The Condemned Apple, Selected Poetry. Okay, so let's take a look at the poem. Let's read it. Remember, what we're trying to do over here is to try to guess what is the meaning of the word bolts in this case. Of course, the picture is going to help you a lot, no? Just bolts of lightning from the sky and plant them. Sorry, it's from the beginning. I start reading one more time. Seize bolts of lightning from the sky and plant them in fields of life. They will grow like tender sprouts of fire, charge somber thoughts with unexpected flash. You, my lightning in the soil. Okay? So again, the language of poetry is highly metaphoric sometimes. It's not direct in many cases. So we will require to interpret a little bit what we have over here. So let's try to do it like one by one. It says, seize bolts of lightning from the sky. Yes? So these bolts of lightning, right, are just like what you see over there in the picture, right? This particular place where the lightning originates, that we know it's the clouds, but specifically we're speaking about that spark, right, that we have over there. So what they're asking is that we have to take the bolts of lightning from the sky and plant them, plant them as if they were seeds. Yes, if we were talking about a flower, a vegetable, some sort of, a plant, right? So we do that action of taking this lightning from the sky and put them into the floor, into the ground. Yes? Then it says, they will grow like tender sprouts of fire. So imagine that this seed of lightning, electric one that is on the ground, on the floor, it starts like sprouting like a flower, right? It says sprout of fire. So the seed was electric somehow. Of course, the flower, if we want to call it that way, was brilliant, was full of light, was electric, and if we call it full of life, right? Something that seems alive or that seems dynamic. Then it says, charge somber thoughts with unexpected flash, right? So if you were sad, if you were frustrated, if you were depressed, if you had dark thoughts, yes, if you had obscure feelings, charge them with unexpected flash. Yes, so this flower that I brought from the sky is going to make me happy. Yes, it's going to make me more optimistic, or it's going to electrify me somehow in a positive way, right? And finally it finishes with, you, my lightning on the soil, right? So this is dedicated to somebody we don't know, maybe a lover, a friend, maybe a relative, a father, mother, we don't know, but somebody who is really, really important for the author. And basically, this is a way of saying, you are the one who recharges me with energy, you are the one who makes me feel better, you are like my lightning in the sky, you are something divine from the sky, and brought here to the earth, and that is why I appreciate you so much. So we have a lot of different things over here. Yeah, and again, we were trying to just guess the meaning of the word bold, but in this case, like, we were able to interpret a lot of different things. Let's do one more, right? If we go to the slide number 6, there is another one, right? And this is a fragment or an excerpt from William Tell, an old folklore tale. So maybe if I tell you this, you don't remember it very much. I mean, the word William Tell probably doesn't ring a bell, but William Tell is this tale about a guy who was really, really good, like using a crossbow. That is what you can see over there in the picture. That is a crossbow, this weapon. And he was sort of a rebel somehow, or he opposed to the government, to the royalty of the time, and because of that, on a very cruel, let's say, challenge, he was forced to use the bolt to shoot his own son. And the son was put an apple on his head, and as he was so skilled with this crossbow, so he was ordered to shoot the apple from the head. Of course, this was really dangerous. The kid could have been killed, but he wasn't in the end because he was really skilled. So that is the tale about. Let's read the fragment. It says, "None should be armed, but those who bear command. It pleases you wear crossbow and bolt. Well, be it so. I will provide the mark." Okay, so the one speaking over here is, as far as I remember, one of the villains of the story. And basically, if we're going to translate this into more understandable English, it says something like, nobody should wear weapons. The only ones with the authority or with the command of doing that is the equivalent for the police, the guards, and things like that. So they are the only ones with the right of using weapons. But you, my friend, you like to use a lot your weapons, no? Your crossbow and your bolt. What is the bolt then? So those bolts are like the mini arrows over there, the projectiles that are used in order to shoot from the crossbow, right? That is a bolt in this context. So do you like to use those weapons a lot? So you know what? I am going to give you a good target for that. It doesn't say it over there in the fragment, but I told you in advance that it was the kid. No. So one more time, we have another acception of the word bold. Great. Let me do this final one, and then I tell you what is going to be the first assignment. Okay, we're going to have a first assignment based on these slides. So slide number 7 says this one, bolt. So this is a fragment from It by Stephen King, a really good and long book that was written by this master of terror and horror that is Stephen King, and that, as you probably know, was made into a couple of adaptations. There was a TV series like in the 80s, I think, and then the most recent ones that are 2 movies, It Part 1 and 2. So it goes like this. She had a blurred impression of the bakery truck that had almost hit her when she bolted into the street, like a child after a rubber ball, and then she was standing on the opposite sidewalk, panting, a hot stitch in her left side. The bakery truck went on down Lower Main. Right, so what does it mean? There's a girl over here, or a woman, it says she. She had a blurred impression of the bakery truck, so she sort of saw a truck. We can imagine something like very hot, and in the distance you see a blurry image, something that is not so clear because of the heat. And then this thing almost hit her, right? Because she bolted. And this is an interesting thing over here, because in the previous ones, all the acceptions of bolts were nouns. Yes, if we go back to the first, it was like a piece of metal. In the second one, we're talking about linings. In the number 3, we're talking about projectiles. Well, here for the first time, we see bolt used as a verb. She bolted into the street like a child after a rubber ball. So imagine a little kid to whom there's a rubber ball that is bouncing, and the kid is running towards it. So this is a good comparison, right? So in this case, bolted means running away or running very fast, right? Basically, that is what happens over there, and that is why we have the pictures over there that are reference to it, right? So remember, bolting means running very fast, sometimes escaping or something similar, okay? So guys, the assignment number 1 for this is going to be as follows. You are going to complete or take a look at the slides number 8 and 9, and you are going to do exactly as I did. You are going to try to provide the meaning of the word bolt in this context. Please, you're going to write a description or a concept for that word in that particular one. You're not going to do it in Spanish, like to translate it, because that is the automatic reaction. No, bolt, tornillo, rayo, proyectil de ballesta, escapar. Now we're going to try to make a description of the word bolt in that particular context. It doesn't require to be very long. As you can see, there are only 2 slides. So you're just going to tell me what is the meaning of bolt in the number 8 and the meaning of bolt in the number 9, with a couple of sentences. 2-3 sentences, as long as they are clear enough. It should be sufficient in order to provide this. So that is going to be assignment number 1. I recommend you do this before going into the next video. Okay, thank you very much. See you in the next video. Hugs.